the things that you list and say, this is what I want in a man, or these are the things I want in a woman. You want to get married? Be those things.
For us in relationship, I always knew, and he always knew, that I'm not going to pay any rent. Yes, it was defined. I can look for the house. So mine is to look for the house. Yours is to put the financial money down.
There was
The roles
clarity
are defined.
on the helpmate
Yes.
situation.
I don't mind driving around, going with agent to agent, looking for the accommodation. When I find something that I feel is good enough for us, then I will call him and say, let us go and see there. When we finish, I will hand him over to the agent and the landlord. You do what you have to do.
This is interesting.
And when you have finished, you tell me when I can move into the house.
Woo!
So the role is defined.
I'm delighted to be here. My name is Chioma Wankwo, and I have amazing guests in the house. Pastor Wura Tapere and Pastor Gbenga Tapere. This is not a service. It's a talk show where we want to speak no holds bar. We are very aware that people have questions burning on their heart that they'd like answers to. So please send your questions online, and if you're here on site as well, please, we'll take your questions. We want to help you unburden, and that's why we're here. It's not a Matthew chapter, so feel free to say it how you feel it, and I'm sure that my guests will be able to answer your questions. I want to introduce my guests because a lot of us know them as Pastor Gbenga and Pastor Wura, but they actually have an existence outside the church. I don't know how many people know that Pastor Gbenga is an accomplished entrepreneur. He's a seasoned civil engineer. I don't know. A lot of people don't know. You just see Pastor Gbenga, dishing out seasoned teachings on Sundays, and you guys be like, oh my God, So there's so much to him that is outside the walls of the church. And these are some of the things we're going to be learning today as he speaks to us about his journey, life lessons that we want to learn that is not Matthew chapter. Are you with me? My guest, Pastor Wura, outside the church is also a seasoned entrepreneur. Have you heard of Wura the brand? Yeah, Wura the brand. We have the creative director here. So there's so much to learn, and I want you to, come with an open mind, set to, learn and glean and have your questions answered. Without further ado, I want to start off with some of the questions that I already have. Are you ready? So, the first question, which is directed to Pastor Gbenga Tapere, is how have you managed to stay and thrive in business without compromising your ethical and moral principles? Because, we understand how the terrain can be when you go bidding for contracts and all. So how have you managed to keep your principles in check?
Thank you very much. First thing I'll say is as a Christian, first need to identify your identity. Identity has nothing to do with service of church, in church or outside church. The first thing is for you to be consistent to who you are and what you believe in. Ministry, business, the key motivating factor for me is adding value. So if I'm in church, if I'm speaking to someone, I'm thinking, okay, or I'm going for a service, I'm thinking, what do I have in my journey, in my experience that I want to bless someone with, that someone can learn from? The same thing if I'm going to a business, I'm going to projects. The first thing I'm thinking is that after this is done, what value will I have added to it? My years of business as an entrepreneur, mainly first was in manufacturing. Before later went to construction. One thing consistent about those sides is that what I do are productive things. I build things. So which means that in my manufacturing, I build products. Start from scratch. I think of what I want to do, give it a name, a brand, and it's something that will be built, be seen, that would enter the market. Someone will use it and they will see it. So they are paying for something. In construction, I go to a place, I see maybe a virgin land, and I'm thinking already, I want to develop a building, and I'm thinking, what kind of building do I want to? How would they enjoy it? I'm thinking about the person coming in, having space, having aesthetics. So it always has to do with having something. I hardly go into business whereby I just middleman and make money. So which means that my motivation is not just to make money, it's to add value. So if that's my purpose, why will I want to cut corners or cheat or do anything just to be a blessing to someone? So the moment that comes in, it takes off the purpose. So I believe that's my check. So if I'm going into a transaction, I want to build a house for you, and it will add to you. I'm adding value to you. Why will I take bribe to add value to you?
Yeah, but I mean, let's say, for example, you've got value to add, but then somebody's saying that they want kickback.
Kickback, okay, for example, I'm speaking for personally. I'm in manufacturing. My products, I produce, I brand them, I push them, and it's bought by everybody. Someone goes to the supermarket to buy my products. Someone goes to the market to buy my products. I don't have to rub hands for someone to buy my products. Some products of mine that you buy, you don't even know it's from me. So until I tell you that company, that products, I produce them. And same thing, if I build a house and I put it on the market, I'm not. If you go buy it, you might not even know I built it. So that's the space. I believe that the moment you have something special to give, and that's where creativity comes in. You see, when you are in the space of same, then there's competition. The moment you can develop and come up higher, and you can make a niche of yourself, they'll look for you. I'm sure Apple doesn't have to bribe you to buy. Are you with me? Yeah, Elon Musk doesn't need to bribe you to buy his cars. All the big names, you understand that investors, bank, they don't need to grease your hand because their value speaks for them. People that want the best will look for you.
Okay. Value. You need to add value. While we're on that, I have a question here that says that at work, I'm having a tough time working with my team members. They give off bad energy vibe. I've been called, I too know, she acts like the supervisor because I go out of my way to get things done. I want to ignore and just act like I don't see their comment, but it's hard to be in a team where people feel like you are doing too much. How do I handle the situation?
I think a lot of times in the marketplace, our self overshadows the main objective. Wanting to be seen, wanting to take credit. A lot of times, people want to attach to themselves. If you're interested in the team's goal, it doesn't matter who presents it, as long as the team wins. So if there are things that I know that as a team, Pastor Wura is about to present something, and I know that this will help her, I tell her, you can add this to your presentation.
Yeah.
And she goes and she presents it, and they clap for her. I'm not going to say, oh, I told her. I told her. And I'm there. She will come back in her mind. When they're praising her, she will come and give me the credit. Say, thank you very much for what you have done. I've won a friend. I've won someone. The moment you watch people's back, and it's not just about you, you always be the winner. Most times, why we have a lot of strife is that I know something, we're together, and I won't say it when we're in a maybe pre-meeting. I'll keep quiet. We'll make comment. I won't say. Then when we get to the open place whereby the managers are there and everybody's talking, I'll just say, okay, let's hear what he wants to say. What I should have told you before, I'll not say it publicly. Everybody's, oh, wow. Then you're saying, but why did you tell me that before?
Yeah.
But you knew. So that's so the moment you're not craving for self-recognition, self-appraisal, and then you be a good team player.
Okay. Well, sometimes it's hard, and that's the honest truth. Because sometimes you're looking out for people and they're taking advantage of you. Like, have you had situations where it looks like you're bending your back, but someone is trying to take advantage of you?
It happens all the time. I think one of the ways to correct wrong is to do right.
Correct wrong by doing right.
Yes, is to do right. See, the moment, and one thing I have to have it as Christians, one of the values we learn in church, reading Bible and all that, most time when we get to the field, we throw them away. Reason being that we're giving love and they're giving hate. We're giving support and they're giving rejection. So what we do is that we say it's not working. So we'll throw our love away and we'll take hate. So when they give hate, we give them hate. Then next thing, we're as good or as bad as they are. But our difference is that we are the light. And the light must shine. So, which means that it doesn't matter what they are doing to you. You do the right thing. And keep doing right.
Always.
Always. It never fails. Never fails.
Always do the right thing, regardless. Okay. We'll learn. We'll be better.
We can get tired of doing the right thing, especially if you're in a workplace and the pressure is a lot. And it's also affecting your health
Yeah.
because you've decided to stay on the right path and your colleagues have decided to go another way. You feel like you're the only man in that organization or in that department that is doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But one thing I have come to realize in business is that the more you do the right thing, the more you stand for the truth will avail for you. And that's why we have the word of God that though the fire may come, though there may be trials, though there might be temptations, you will overcome. So you have to have that overcomer's attitude within you before. And then the other thing is that God never gives you something that is more than what you can carry. Even before the end comes in that place or in that organization, he would have provided an exit route for you. He would have given you another job. So at the end of the day, when they're looking at your credentials of what you've done, it is the truth or the what you stood for that will stand for you on the other side. One of the things, principles I give as a mother to my children is that always say the truth. And it has worked for them time and time again. I mean, whenever my children, if they happen to get into trouble in school and they just say the truth, every time it's time to put judgment, they would say, because he said the truth, or because she said the truth. Yes, this is the punishment they should have had, but because he was honest, or because she was honest, they will waive it. So when you stand for the truth and you keep standing for Christ, even in that midst of that trouble in your organization, God will always avail for you.
I mean, I guess the Christian work is not bread and butter, so you have to put in the work.
Yes, and we're sent to the marketplace, so we've got to do it in the marketplace.
Stand for the truth, regardless of how daunting it might be sometimes. You, as the creative that you are, do you ever get creative blocks? Like, I mean, you see creatives. I remember working in advertising, and when, we have like, I was working on a brand that was high pressure, like they were churning out phones every other month. And you always had to have a creative campaign going out. And then the creative guys be like, I don't have anything. Give me some time. I'm like, guy, nobody's waiting for you. Like, they need to. And they will say to you, I don't have it. If you force it, whatever comes out, you won't like it because it's not a well thought out process. So do you ever get to a point where, the pieces are not just clicking and you just need a break? And how do you get past that?
Yes, as a creativity comes and goes. So yes, I do experience creative blocks in terms of my designs. But what happens is we get inspiration from things around us, from colors. I might see someone and say, oh, I just like those colors. I might not know what I want to do with it, but I put it in a store bank. So I will take pictures of things I like and just keep it in a store bank. Whenever I get creative blocks, I go to those store banks and try as much as possible to try and bring something out of it. Recently, I'm working on a collection, and halfway through the collection, I'm lost for ideas. And my team are telling me, madam, we need to finish this thing. I said, yes, I know. Next day, madam, we need to finish this. Yes, I know. One of the things I do is also I pray about it. God gives me visions of designs. And people ask me, how did I get it? The inspiration just came. And from that, I develop it. The other thing is I also launch myself. So if I'm having a creative block, I launch myself in the sense that I start something. And when you begin a process, it might not be what you wanted to make, but as you're doing it, that's well, I actually don't like the way that thing is look. Let's put this there. Let's do this. And by the time we're exploring, I see myself having brought out something that I never even started off with. So for me, what has helped with dealing with creative blocks is whenever I see something I like, colors, plants, when I travel, even on the road, I take a screenshot and I put it. It's like I'm putting it into a memory bank. The other thing I do is I launch out. I said, okay, I like this fabric. Let's see what we can do. And in the process of exploring, something creative comes out of it. So those are the two ways. And then also inspiration from God. So that's what I've done for.
Okay. So inspiration from God, not sitting on it, actually starting off somewhere. Have you ever rolled out a collection and you're just like, nah, this is not going to the market?
Yes. I had a collection which I released last year, which was called Chelsea. And it was my first collection with actually my name on it. I'd done the prints from China. I'd worked with a graphic art, a textile designer. We'd done the prints. I put my logo on it, went through all the colors, went through the process, went through all the design, did the photo shoot, released the collection, and the audience just did not accept it. So it was as if they'd opened the well and poured money down the drain. It was sad because obviously it was supposed to be an iconic print for me. And it was launching me into a new area whereby I am now creating my own prints and also putting my name on a print, which is supposed to be something that will stand the test of time. And to come back after that and realize that, wow, this collection wasn't exactly what the audience wanted. What I did was I pulled out the collection and I've put it in my memory bank. It might not be for that time, but I tell you, it will be for a time coming soon.
So basically, there's really no failing in business.
There's no failing, especially in design. One of the things I've realized in design is that design is who you are. So you can design something today and tomorrow decide to change it. And the day after, you can decide to change it. As we see with our mobile phones, they're always having an upgrade every year. because they're changing something, modifying something, making it better. So designing is always changing. People's tastes, people's needs, people's wants are always changing. So there's always a space there for someone. There's always someone that would say, didn't see it last year, but see it this year. And they'd go, oh, I really like that. And I get a lot of that in terms of my business. I might have designed a piece 18 months, 2 years, and then all of a sudden people are sending me pictures via DM. Do you have this? I'm thinking, have this 2 years ago. No, God forbid. I sold it a long time ago. But it just became appealing to them now. So design never changes. I always say this, that we're all designers. Because no one is the originator of a skirt. No one is the originator of trousers. No one's the originator of the top. Because these things have always been. Yeah. All we are doing in design is modifying it. So everyone can modify. You can decide that, oh, you know what? We don't want to wear collars on our shirts anymore. And it becomes a trend.
Yeah. And we can see that a lot of like old designs are coming back now.
They always come back. Because one of the things with inspiration and design is that you always go back to what other people have done. That's what they teach you in design school. So you're just modifying design.
Wow. Lovely. To an upcoming fashion designer, you have been given a secret you would have learned in business school, free of charge. So for a young person who is thinking, do I go for career and just go up the rank? Like, do we pay me more? I mean, our country is getting better. Hallelujah, somebody.
Hallelujah.
I mean, if I was earning, say, 500,000 naira in January to the dollar, that was about $1,000 thereabout a month at the bank rate, right? Now, even at the bank rate is almost half of that. So do I go up and, just keep like pushing it, hoping I earn more? Or do I just like, you know what, at this point, I think I should just face my passion?
Being an entrepreneur is a hard decision. And especially in the climate in Nigeria. I had friends who went on the career path. And then they started with NYSC with maybe like 18,000, 20,000. Then I was selling a piece at that price. So I think to myself, why should I wait in the career path, earning 18,000 at the end of the month or 20,000? When at the end of a month, I could have made times 10 of that in sales. But really, what happens as an entrepreneur is that when you make sales, it's different from profits.
Correct.
When you make sales is different from your running expenses. So there's a lot that goes behind the scene. So a young lady is saying that, oh, I'm making 2 million naira a month as my revenue. But then you have all the costs that accumulated. I don't know whether you have staff, and then your transport, and then food, and then you have accommodation. And really, your 2 million depletes. And what you have in profit maybe sometimes may not even be as much as your friend who's earning 100,000 cash at the end of the month.
Correct.
That's what I found in entrepreneurship. Friends that started on 18, 20,000 and have been in their career paths for 20 years and now becoming, senior management level, whereby they're getting brand cars, whereby the organization they work with are giving them perks, they have bonuses and everything. Yes, I do look at them and think, oh, maybe I should have stayed there. But at the end of the day, for me, doing my passion drives me every day. I would hate to go into an office and just be miserable for 20 years, knowing that God has not called me there. And wherever God has called you, he will give you the sustaining power. Not only will he give you the sustaining power, he will help you through that process. And there are many people who are entrepreneurs in Nigeria who have done very well. So if that's the path that you've been called to, I suggest stay on that path. Ignore those who are climbing up in the careers because they will come and patronize you. So they need somewhere to offset their money.
Yeah, And you'll be there.
And you'll be there.
So basically, it's a decision that you need to prayerfully take. You don't make that kind of decision based on feelings and emotions because it's a long haul. It's not a 2 years, 3 years down the line situation. God help us. So for the both of you, ministry, family, business, how do you juggle?
Well, when you say juggle, it's my life. So when it comes to ministry or work or family, I see them as the same. So for me, I see them as the same because ministry is not work for me. It's what I'm called to do. So my business is not work for me. It's what I'm called to do. So like as Pastor was saying, you need to identify what am I called to do. That's the big difference.
Yeah.
What am I called to do? If you're called to be an entrepreneur, the gifts, the grace, the abilities is in you. If you're called to be in a career, the ability, the grace to excel is in you. One of the key things that identify what you are called to do and stay there. The best thing that can happen to anyone is trade with your strength. Trade with your gifts. If you're gifted in a particular area, stay there. As a ministry, if someone calls me and say, "Oh, I have a need," or "I want to talk to someone," I just want you to listen to what I'm going through. If they're talking to me, I am, because there's something in me that wants to help. It's natural. And my joy is that the person comes a day or a month later and tells me that what you told me, I used it and it has changed my life. It's like I've won a lottery. So my conversation there is not work, is I'm living my passion. So it's different because sometimes I hear people say, "Oh, in ministry, your hard times, what I've been through." I never had a hard time in ministry. So what someone sees as a hard time, for me, is the hurdles that is for me to cross. Like an entrepreneur, a businessman, if you're called to be a businessman or a businesswoman, staff problem, this, you enjoy it. That's what you are called to do. Madam, my house rent, this person comes, they keep pointing their personal need on you. If you are called to be an entrepreneur, the capacity to handle all that area will be there for you.
But do you ever feel like, you know how someone is going through something and you're just like hoping, looking forward to this thing passing? Does it ever get to you and you feel so like overwhelmed, like, can this thing just go over?
Is it for me or for someone?
Like for someone. Say, for example, I came to you, I'm like, either as PGT or as my boss, I'm like, I have this challenge, this. And the challenge is persisting and you're just like, can this challenge just go?
Of course. You see, that's human love, human compassion, which if you are in ministry, you should have. Even if you're a good boss, you should have, you're an entrepreneur, you have that natural passion to want to see people around you succeed and be well. It's natural. But there's a place you need to get to whereby you know that as much as I'm praying, I'm designing the best for you, I'm not God.
Correct.
I can pray, I can do all that. I'm not the one that will answer it. That it is still God that will answer it. So if someone comes with some problems and they tell you everything, I don't take their burden and carry on myself. and make myself responsible. So if something is not going right for them, I start blaming myself. Oh, I didn't do enough. Oh, I didn't help them enough. I could have done this better. Oh, and that's called transfer of burden.
Yeah.
So as a minister, never be in a place whereby you are expressing transfer of burden. Whereby if someone comes to you with a problem and you listen to the problem and you listen and you receive it on yourself. So you live there, you're now depressed. And say, what's wrong with you? I heard something today. Say, what happened? No. That means you're trying to be the solution provider. You're just a vessel in the hand of God. God is the one that will do it. So when they come to you, you pray, do everything, you agree with God that, Lord, help this man, help this woman. And when if it's lingering, you have to also say, Lord, do it. At the end of the day, you push it back to him. Lord, do it your way.
Just making sure that you don't cross the line of taking over and trying to act as God.
Yes.
I mean, before you respond to the question, I'd like to add this so that you can respond from a female perspective. This person says, my husband is really selfish. He thinks of whatever suits him alone. We have a baby and he doesn't help out with anything. He expects me to do everything, cook, and also satisfy him. If he doesn't get what he wants, he plays the I'm lucky card that he's actually faithful. I'm tired. How can I settle or come to terms with this? And do I have to come to terms with it or move on?
This is a relationship issue in marriage. And firstly, before you get into marriage, roles have to be identified, both by the husband and the wife. You need to know what role you will be playing in the marriage and how each one of you wants that role to be played out. I find with a lot of young people who are just getting married, those roles are not very well defined. For us in relationship, I always knew, and he always knew, that I'm not going to pay any rent. Yes, it was defined. I can look for the house. So mine is to look for the house. Yours is to put the financial money down.
There was
the roles
clarity
are defined.
on the helpmate
Yes.
situation.
I don't mind driving around, going with agent to agent, looking for the accommodation. When I find something that I feel is good enough for us, then I will call him and say, let us go and see there. When we finish, I will hand him over to the agent and the landlord. You do what you have to do.
This is interesting.
And when you have finished, you tell me when I can move into the house.
Woo!
So the role is defined. Everyone plays their role.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the children, the same thing. Defined. I help with the children, ensure that they have what they need, ensure they have the right lesson teachers, ensure that they have the food they need, ensure that they go to school. But to go to school is to get them ready for school. The vehicle to take them to school must be provided.
This is
I will go around and pick the schools. When I finish, I'll bring everything. I will lay it. You will study. What did you find in this one? What was this one? How much is this one? Where is this one? He will do everything. Then he will decide which school they're going, because according to what he can afford. So I will do the research. He will pay. Roles identified from the beginning.
I mean, but there are people that life happens to them and maybe the guy struggles, like life happened. Maybe the deal went
Yes,
wrong.
no problem. If life happens, I know that I will take the role, but it's not for a long time. I will be in my prayer closet praying that this life that is happening to my husband, it must change. God, this is not what we signed for when we began. So yes, life happens. And as a woman, if your husband is going through financial challenges or things are not going as well, there's nothing wrong with you if you have the money, if you have the ability to pick up the role. And whenever your husband is not doing what he's supposed to do around the house, my husband doesn't do anything around the house. But that's the role. If I can't do it, then you employ someone to do it. But that the house will be dirty because he refuses to, no. If you go abroad, you see men vacuuming their house, which means that they're cleaning the house when you go abroad because they divide the roles. You see men they call them house fathers. The wife is working, the husband is the one looking after the home. That relationship and that order works for them. So you have to decide. And if your husband is not doing what you would like him to do, then you begin to encourage him. Sometimes some men are not brought up like that. They're brought up in a place that their fathers put up their feet and their mothers did everything. But you would have seen that before you married.
No.
So now that you're in it, you have to use style, cajole, and say, our son, maybe it would be nice for you to bond with him. That's what I use. Because one thing is that if the children are always with the mother, they will grow fond of the mother. They will not have a relationship with their father. And do you want to raise children in this generation, in this time, without having a relationship with you? A lot of parents will say no.
It's more damaging eventually.
Yes. So with that, little by little, they begin to have their own time with their child. Sometimes if you leave the child and you go out, if you want, let the child cry. Let the child solve themselves. Shebi is the father. Nothing will happen. I assure you that.
Nothing will happen.
Nothing will happen. The child will cry, you will forget. The father will go and carry and put, sit down here. How does your mother do this thing? Where does he put that thing? Where does she put? He will do it.
Well, okay. PGT, this guy loves me. He's not my spec. Is it possible for me to love him over time? The audience said no.
Come again.
Not your spec.
No, he's not her spec. The guy loves her. He's not her spec. Is it possible for her to fall in love with him over time because she doesn't really love him at the moment?
Relationship. The moment you spend time with someone, the longer time you spend with the person, you will start getting to like the person.
What if you don't like the person after spending time?
Sometimes not everything that you see is beautiful.
Pastor Wura,
unless it's a situation whereby the man's breath smells. So even when you come in contact with him, that smell alone is an off-put. I remember at university, there was a guy that, not that he liked me, but I said to myself, I can't even date this. Why? We're eating in the school canteen. And the whole time we were eating, his cutlery was dancing, his mouth was moving, everything was just a turn off. So if it is that situation whereby just merely sitting down and having a meal is a turn off, then there's nothing God can do in that kind of place. Over to you.
Well, relationships, you can't predict. I think the first thing that connects, the moment you can relate, you have point of interest. It might be that maybe the guy is short, is tall, or is slim. If it's those kind of things, all those things can change. The fat
Short
guy.
to tall?
The fat guy can lose weight.
Okay.
The guy
And the short guy?
The short guy can look very, very handsome. Things change.
He can have height.
Oh, things change. See, the thing is that as a guy begins to show care and love, his face will begin to change in your eyes. And it starts to take care of you. Then you discover that, it's not handsome that runs the home more. It's not handsome. Then you discover that the one that was handsome and is not paying bills and is not taking care of you, I thought guys should be fine, no? So in relationships, I remember some years back, many years ago, I was in a conference where it was a singles conference. and a couple came to speak to us. The man was short, the woman was tall, very beautiful, and they spoke about how they met, and they met going to church. I think they go to the same church. The lady didn't have a car, and the guy had a car, and you come pick her, just like a brother, But he wasn't like a spec kind, because this lady was tall, beautiful, gorgeous-looking lady. Even as at that time, the husband was short and plumpy, didn't look like a match. But the guy would pick her, drop her in church, pick her. She saw kindness, and they started relating, just friends, and talking and chatting. And after time, it didn't happen overnight. After time, she discovered, what exactly do I really need? What am I really looking for? When you ask a lady, what are the things that you want from a man? She might say, tall, handsome, these. Write all those lists. Then you now need to ask yourself, what do you really, really need to have a successful marriage? Speak to a couple that been married for some years. Ask them, what are the things that made your marriage to succeed? You'll be shocked. Over 70% of the lists that you mentioned won't be there. It won't be there that my husband is tall. It will not be there. My husband is a sweet rapper. It won't be there. The things that you didn't mention that are the key factors for a lasting relationship, that the things that matters. A marriage, or a man or a woman wants someone that is dependable, wants someone that is reliable. You'll be shocked that all those things won't be in the list at that time. So it's always a flip. And one thing I've always known, it goes for both for the men and the women also. I've known something, and I've noticed it. I remember when I was in school, in university, there used to be something they call Jambite Rush in our school then. So which means that when girls come in for the first year, everybody looking for them, and they become very popular. And so I find that sometimes in school, you just saw this a lady. Say, who's this lady? Jamba. I said, no, she's in year 3. I said, no, it's not possible. This girl is doing this. I said, this lady is in year 3. It's a lie. Do you know why? When she was in year 1, she didn't look it. She didn't look it. But when she had been in the school, she has seen how the ladies dress. She has seen how they do their hair. She wasn't doing there, and she was not staying in an hostel with the other lady. Now she started taking care of herself. She's not changing her dressing. Suddenly, the people that never saw her just suddenly discover that there's one beautiful lady in school. So, which tells you that people come to beauty, both for women and for men.
Money makes the men fine, Sha.
Well, for everyone. So I'll say the things that you list and say, this is what I want in a man, or these are the things I want in a woman. You want to get married? Be those things.
Be what you're looking for.
Yes. You want a good-looking guy? Be a good-looking lady. You want a nice guy? Be a nice lady. You want a dependable guy? Be dependable. So the things you see and you desire for yourself, be that person, and you'll be found.
Be what you need or what you're looking for, and you'll be found. Profound. Do you think age matters? I have a question here. He's 25. He feels that girls in his age bracket are unattractive because they have a lot of wahala. And he doesn't mind being with a woman who's about 10 years older than he is. What do you have to say about it?
Well, for me, I'm a very open person. I believe that we mature differently. Now, everyone must have a plan and have a long plan, which means that if you are 25 and you marry a lady that is 35, that means you must understand that by the time you are 45, she's going to be 55. So you know that whatever you want to do when it comes to childbearing, do it quick. Because by the time you are still young as a man, she will have entered menopause. And you know that there's some things that you might want to do, you might not be able to do with her. There's some challenges you face. Number one is that you might not be able to have same social friends. Simply because if she's 35, most likely her friends are already 40 and all those ranges, and you are still 25. So you are going to be always doing a catch-up. And your own friends that are your 25, 26, 27, 23, 22, both male and female, will not fit in our own circle. So there's some things that you just need to consider beyond just your own consider that and just have full knowledge of what you're going into. If it works for you, fantastic. I have friends that are married, and the people they married are a little bit just a few years older than them, and they're fine. Because my friends, even before then, my friends, when he was 15, in his mind, he's 25. So by the time he's 12, 13, he's already putting spirits here. So his mind, he wants to grow up faster. So for him, it was a big deal that he's dating someone that is older than him. So for that, it works. So just be sure that it's what you really, really want.
And it goes vice versa for a lady who marries a guy who is much older. They must also realize that, age sets in. For the man, mobility, things to do. You now become a carer for them in their old age because of the age difference, which is something that you also have to put in place as well in terms of relationships and age.
I mean, a lot of these things are way beyond emotions. That's some of the conclusions that we're getting. So as you make your decisions, have a big picture. Like, don't just look at the now. Look at your 5 years, 10 years. If the picture that you see is pleasant to you and you are fine with it, then by all means run. If it's not, then you probably need to go back to the drawing board and ask yourself if those things will really matter eventually. I've had 3 abortions during university. And now I've met an amazing man. He's perfect for me. He wants to take things further and is talking of seeing my parents. I have long repented and now practice celibacy. I fear that I might not be able to conceive again. Should I tell him about my past? He loves babies and is talking about when we would have ours. I feel like a fraud and I'm so worried that I might not be able to get pregnant. What do you advise?
Ask BGT.
I think the first thing is that your past life always haunts you if you've not forgiven yourself first. The first, even apart from she's had abortion or who has abortion, there's so many things we have done that before we get married, we first need to go through the process of forgiving ourselves and not living by the things we did. So that because you don't want to carry the load or the baggage of your guilt of your past and push it to the next person that you're going to marry. And that's what happens a lot of times. That people are going through some stuff in marriage You can't really put your hands on it because it's not apparent. That's number one. So please, if you've asked God for forgiveness and He has forgiven you, you are set free. You have been forgiven, and that's it. So accept that you'll be forgiven. The next thing is that, were you told medically that you cannot have a child? So if you have not gone through a medical situation, maybe womb removed or whatever, or there's a medical report that says, lady, you're not going to have a child, then don't believe it's your mind that's telling you you won't have a child. People have had abortions more than that and they still have children. So it doesn't end there. So if it's not medical, good. But if you've been told medically that, lady, the abortion you had complications and you will not be able to have a child, then you owe him to let him know that this had happened and medically I cannot have a child. And if both of you need to see a doctor again and check and be sure, then do the check together. But don't get into marriage hiding information that will show up in the marriage. Because when it shows up and it was hidden from them, it will explode. But if you have told them, you'll be shocked. If you say, I don't mind, I want to marry you. I've heard testimonies whereby a woman had something like that. They told her medically, you can't have a child. And she told the man. And the man said, you are the one I will marry. And they got married. And they would pray together and they eventually had children. And that was fantastic because he was aware. I know someone that had HIV. And she had HIV, but she met someone else. And that one doesn't know she has HIV. And because she wanted to get married, she didn't tell him. And they went ahead and got married. And when they got married, down the line, there was some medical issues that they had to go and do some tests. It was then that the reports came back and showed that she had HIV. And she knew. But he was devastated mentally. Not just because she had HIV, but she felt she was tricked. He felt he was tricked. And that's what happened. Eventually, it might not work. So make sure that you don't get into marriage in any form of deception. Let the facts be on the table. Facts that will impact the marriage. But if it's things that it has nothing to do with that, just your personal guilt, don't meet a guy and now tell him, oh, I was a bad girl before. I had 7,000 girl boyfriends. He doesn't need all that. You understand? That's just yourself. That's just your self, you know. So that's what we're talking about. But real issues, you need to let him know or let her know.
Don't go into marriage hiding things that will have detrimental impact. Because, I think the devil has a way of also bringing these things out eventually because sin thrives in secrecy. When it's out there in the open, there's almost no weapon for him to use. So even when it shows up and maybe the guy eventually jams somebody that knows you in the past and they're talking plenty, just be like, oh, I've heard it before. I know it. And then the story ends there. He doesn't need to come back home and start asking, did they say, is it? And when you go out now, the guy is thinking, maybe she went to her ex-boyfriend's house, So let's try to live a life that is worthy of the open, basically. Daughter of Zion wants to know if drinking alcohol is a sin. Pastor
Holy
Wura.
Communion.
No, alcohol. Just social drinking. I go to a party, just a glass of champagne. I'm not drinking to,
a lot of people differentiate between alcohol. They say wine is okay because we take wine for communion. And then they say, I don't drink hot drinks or I don't take beer. So which one is it? Is it just any form of
Yes.
alcohol? Well, we don't take any form of alcohol. And apart from it's being biblical, I've come to realize also that actually alcohol isn't actually good for the body. Why do I say that? Every time you go for an annual medical check, there are certain things that doctors ask you. And one of those things are, do you smoke? Do you drink? What kind of a life are you living? Because they've come to realize that all those things actually harm and affect your body. I was seeing something on Instagram the other day that alcohol abuse can lead to liver damage. So apart from it being biblical, in terms of your own body as well, it can be harmful. Also, I've seen people who have drank and they're misbehaving. You never know if it's your boss or somebody that you're supposed to meet for an interview the next day is the one that was seeing you misbehaving outside, either the night before or the weekend. Because when you alcohol abuse, you are not in control of your senses. In the area of scripture, we are vessels, and our body is a temple of God dwelling in. And toxins and things that will harm us are not things that we should be putting into our body. We should be putting things that will fill us, enrich us, and which will bless us and let us also look after the body that God has given us. That's the way I see it. But I will give PGT some...
But I know my limit too. I'm not drinking.
Not everyone knows their limit.
Yes, this person knows her limit. She's
just
not
one
drinking.
Glass of wine.
Yes, just one glass, PGT.
Once a week or every afternoon?
Just social drinking. I mean, if I go for an event, yeah, I can just hold it and just sip.
So that you feel like you're part of the...
Well, this is a question that been asked many times. And I think I answered in two ways. Scripturally, in scriptures, is drinking a sin? The answer is no. Scriptures.
According to the Bible, drinking is not a
Scriptures.
sin.
Drinking alcohol is not a sin. There's not a single place where it is said to be a sin. In scriptures, scripture says to us, Levites, do not drink. Who are Levites? Levites are people that committed to serving God. Now, when God, in scriptures, when Samson was to come, and Samson was to be chosen by him, he told the parents, he must not drink.
Yes.
So, many times when God wants to separate you, use you, or wants you to be his Levite, he increases your standard. But in today's world, the Levites, to me, are born again Christians.
That's right.
So, is how do you see yourself? If you see yourself that I am set apart for God, my body is the temple of God, then you belong to that set of people where he spoke to that rather to be drunk in wine, be drunk in the Holy Spirit. But he didn't say that if you choose not to, that it's a sin. So one must balance that too. So if I see a Christian taking wine, I don't say you're a sinner. I don't say stop it. You are doing something bad. What I say is that what are you representing? Number one, the world, I say it again, the world does not accept a Christian to drink. The world does not accept a Christian to drink. When you say you're a Christian and you drink, they mock you. Because they say, I'm a sinner, I'm drinking. Pastor, you two are drinking. I say, what's the difference between us? So they don't accept it. So you can lose a soul by drinking. Someone that you're preaching to or think, oh, God can catch you on champagne glass. Say, he won't forgive you that,
Which is true.
He won't forgive you and say, no, he won't. So if your life is to shine for Christ, there's some things, even though I know it is not a sin, I will not do it because I know that it can block someone else from entering heaven. So you have to just get that balance.
I guess this is where scripture talks about some things being lawful, some things being expedient, and all those kind of things.
You need to get the balance.
Because I remember I have an uncle, and he wasn't a pastor then, but he was flying from Lagos to London. And as soon as he got on the flight, he brought out his big Bible, he was reading, and the passenger next to him was just looking at him. When it was time to have dinner, they served him, and then they brought the alcohol. The guy next to him was waiting for him. And lo and behold, my uncle drinks. So he asked for 2 bottles of red wine, asked for another thing. So when my uncle had finished, the man said, but when we left Lagos up until this time, you were reading Bible, really reading it. I really thought that it was that day and that encounter that stopped him from drinking, because he realized, as PGT has said, that he lost the opportunity of a soul just because he was consuming alcohol, because of the image of that the person had of a pastor or a believer.
Wow. So how do you both unwind?
We're unwinding now.
Nah.
We're not on a Zoom link, on a prayer link.
What do you do for
We're
fun?
unwind.
When you say unwinding, it's your interest. I love being with my wife.
Come on now.
Our unwinding is our time together. I don't need a crowd to have fun. All I need is just my sugar baby by my side.
Did you hear that?
So, and we do things together.
Do you have similar interests?
Yeah, sometimes we go for a walk together. And we just chat and she talk, I listen.
And she talk and I listen. And she talk and I listen the more.
And and we sometimes just go out on a date, go for dinner. Sometimes, I'm gonna go for dinner, and after dinner she will quiz that spicy is not too spicy. So I said, no, I didn't go. But we'll have the fun together.
Do you open the door for her?
Door to her to enter. If I say I do, I lie. If I say I do, I lie.
I'm not into all those things.
Yeah,
those are one of the things that when we started dating, I said to him, I don't like it. I don't like opening door, carrying bag.
Why?
Why?
But why not?
Why? I don't like it. For me, it doesn't show love. There's nothing wrong with my hand. I can open the door myself. I can carry my bag. It doesn't show me that you love me. It is not a love language for me at all.
Dear brother, know what works in your relationship.
Yes. So I said to him, he wanted to, and I said, no, it doesn't work for me. I'm not impressed by it.
And I was set free.
Do you want it now? Do you miss it? Do you want it now?
It's not a love language for me.
Okay.
So it's not something that I will crave for. I mean, maybe when it came to helping with the children, maybe if I'm carrying the baby bag and I was carrying the car seats, because he's just so used to, she doesn't need me to carry anything, she'll carry. Then, but apart from that, I wouldn't say that I needed, even now, I don't want anyone to open I can open them, there's nothing wrong with it. Even my staff, when I get to work, they're like, madam, they want to carry bag. I think it's just a Nigerian culture thing. For me, it doesn't do anything, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm able. So, also he didn't say, for him to unwind, he likes to watch Netflix. As in, he like his movie. All those on pa, 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 pa. And then I'm going,
Action movies.
Action movies. Or the ones that they're killing. And I'm like, how can you watch this? So for him, that's just how he just unwinds. And then we also try and go away, or we have a staycation. We go for a massage. Those are the kind of things that we do that we enjoy. Anything that we're doing together is unwinding for us.
I mean, I think this love language conversation is something that we're going to need to have at some point, because I realized that a lot of people don't understand love languages. It's a thing. And when you don't, imagine him carrying your bag all the time and you're wondering, and he's like, I love her, I'm carrying her bag. And the baby's like, it's not working.
It's not working for me.
So it's a conversation, because I met someone who said to me, I said, do you know what is called love language? And he said, we have to find the one that works. Hello, sir. So it's a conversation, I think, that everybody, I want to challenge you to take the love language test. Find what works for you as a person. Because when you love yourself right, the next person doesn't have a choice but to love you right, because you have then shown them how to love you. We have a lot of people who don't know how to love themselves, and so they're struggling when people don't love them right, because they don't even know what is right for themselves. So please take the love language test, and your life will not be the same. We've come to the end of today's session. Have you been blessed? I hope the questions in your heart have been answered. Thank you so much for being with us here today. We trust that you enjoyed the session.
We did. Thank you.
Next week, we are going to have a special guest here live. Don't miss it. I encourage you to send your questions ahead. I mean, the questions that were read were questions that people really sent, and that's to tell you that people have things that are burning in their heart that they want to ask. So if you have any questions, you don't need to code it. You are allowed to ask your questions anonymously so that you can express yourself fully. So send your message. If you go to our Instagram or, all our handles at RCCG, the new house, the link is there. You can, follow the link, drop your questions, or, send it to our DMs. And by all means, we would table it here during our sessions. It's been an amazing time here as your host. I've been blessed personally. Some things have also changed in terms of how I view things, and I'm sure that as we go through the month of November, every Thursday at 7 p.m., that some myths will be demystified and some perceptions will be corrected. Till next time, have a good evening.